today we're going to talk about cilantro, and boy do I have a love-hate relationship with cilantro. Love the way it tastes, I love using it. I have really struggled to grow it, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do today's particular segment. It's just so that you can learn from my mistakes, so that you're not making the same mistakes twice. Alright, so cilantro, we'll go over pots in your garden, different places you can grow it, when to grow it, all that good stuff. So one major fail that I made with cilantro, and a lot of people make, is they buy it along with the rest of their spring plants, right? You go and you go to Lowe's or Home Depot and you pick up all the stuff you want to plant, seeds, plants, and then you start planting it. Well, for one, you want to get a head start on cilantro. So the earlier in the season, the better. You can also plant it in the fall. It's a cool weather plant. All right, even though my favorite cilantro dishes are salsa with cilantro with a nice cold margarita, very summery, chicken salads with cilantro. I also want to eat in the heat of the summer, but it bolts so quickly in the summer. I'm going to teach you some tricks on how to have cilantro for as much of the year as possible, but it really does like a little bit of cold weather. Okay, first of all, I want you to put on your patience hat when it comes to cilantro. You might not have the best crop this year, but if you follow some of these tips, you can have cilantro for years and years to come. Again, cilantro is a perennial if you want it to be. Perennials, remember, they come back every year. Annuals, you have to plant every year. So if you can get a good set of perennials going, you don't even have to garden in the beginning. It happens for you, right? So one of the worst mistakes that I made and that you can make is going to Home Depot or Lowe's and buying cilantro in, this is not cilantro, this is parsley, because I refuse to buy it. It should be illegal for them to sell cilantro like this, all right? So let's pretend that this parsley is cilantro for just a minute. You buy your cilantro, you plant it. You're expecting some big, beautiful bush. You're expecting it to kind of get bigger and better. It doesn't. This is pretty much as big as it gets. It might get a little bit bushier, and then that's it. You harvest it and it's gone. So for $3.49, you don't even have enough cilantro to make salsa. I mean, so it's ridiculous to buy your cilantro like this. Like I said, when we grow basil, rosemary, I want you to buy it from the plants. I don't want to start those from seed because it takes too long. Cilantro does take a long time from seed to germinate, but that's the way you want to grow it, because that's how you're going to be able to have the most cilantro and be able to harvest it all season long, almost all season long, depending on where you live. All right, let's plant some cilantro. Here I just have some regular old potting soil in a tray that has some drainage. If your trays don't have drainage, you can always just punch some holes in them or slit it with the scissors. So sometimes when I'm planting, especially from seed, I want to use seed starter mix. I use the organic kind. Look for it at the hardware store or your nursery, wherever you buy your stuff online. Seed starter is really good, but for cilantro, it's real easy. One fun little fact is when you're looking at your seeds, any seeds, whatever you're planting, the bigger the seed is, the easier it's going to be to plant, the faster the results. Think of like a big watermelon seed or a big sunflower seeds. Those grow quickly and big. So if you're planting with kids, that's always something to think about. But if you have, the smaller the seed, the finer I want your soil to be. So you really need that seed starter if you're planting tomatoes or peppers, little small flake type seeds, or basil, things like that. So coriander though, and you know, cilantro seed is coriander, so you can actually put it right in your spice cabinet from the seed packet if you need to. All right, so we're just going to plant these about 6 inches apart. I'm not going to put a lot of thought into it. Wherever you have a seed is where you're going to have some growth, and it doesn't need a lot of room. Think of planting your cilantro similar to planting grass. You're going to have little blades come up everywhere. And wherever you want your cilantro to come up is where you want your seeds. Okay, I have a couple too many, so I'm going to put these back in the pack. I am never going to plant all my cilantro at once for the season. That's one way we're going to have crops all year long. Okay, and then we're just going to cover this soil with regular potting soil. I need just a little bit more. I think when you have a little bit larger seed, you may need a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch. It seems like every packet of seed says 1/4 of an inch, but that's not necessarily true. When you have little teeny fine seeds, you barely need to cover them. Thicker seeds need a little bit more depth, so I'm just going to push them in there, the ones that didn't get covered up, and flatten them out. Okay, then we're just going to water and wait. Let's talk about watering your cilantro for just a minute. This is my regular watering can that I use for just about everything, but I use something like this on established plants. If you were to water from here or just a jar or not really thinking about it, this has too much water coming out at once for seeds. All right, those seeds will move around every time you water, and seeds do not like to be moved, right? They want to be still. So what you want to do with almost any seed is a mister. You can use a spray bottle mister, or if you have a mist setting on your nozzle, please mist your seeds, okay? Cilantro is a little bit bigger. Things like cilantro or Swiss chard or beets, where you have bigger seeds, sunflower, squash, things like that, you can get away with a shower type nozzle setting, but you can never go wrong just misting your seeds for the first few days, okay? The great thing about starting cilantro indoors is you can do this in the winter time. December, January, February. You can have cilantro, you can grow this inside easily in a windowsill. If you have a greenhouse, great, but anywhere where you have some indoor sunlight, you can grow this in the wintertime. So cilantro is a cool weather plant, so once we start putting it outside, just remember you can get out there pretty early, but summertime is a struggle. Next, let's cover planting your cilantro outside, which is really the way I prefer it. So let's head to the garden. When you're choosing where to plant your cilantro, I highly recommend thinking about putting your herbs right near your garden, okay? Herbs have a pungent smell that bugs really hate. Also deer and rabbits and other little critters that get in your garden, but everybody says they want to be an organic gardener until the bugs hit, and that's when it really becomes a struggle. In June, July, August, when your plants and vegetables are covered in bugs, and you're trying to fight it at that point. I like to start from the beginning and prevent the bugs from ever coming in to begin with. So as you can see here, I kind of have all of my cilantro in a bed. So when you're thinking about where you want to put it, think about it a good bit, because it is a perennial and it's going to keep coming back. So don't just think, oh, I'll put it here this year and here next year. It's going to keep coming back as long as you cultivate it. So up against your house or in your landscaping, cilantro can be, when you're planting it in beds like this, it's a little bit invasive and can kind of it gets wiry and out of control. So just think about that. It's not exactly something that's going to be pretty in your landscaping. The secret to having cilantro all year long, or for as long as possible, is not to plant it all at once. So as you can see, I have a nice good patch of it here. So I would put some more of my seeds right in here, planting it the same way we did in trays, but just doing that every couple of weeks. So planting your cilantro every couple of weeks means that you can harvest it at different times, because right now I have so much cilantro. I have some patches over here as well. I can't even eat it all. Okay, when you're harvesting your cilantro, I don't want you to cut way down here. If you're cutting down here, you're not going to get any more growth out of this plant. But if you harvest it properly, again, a big mistake I made for many years, it'll keep growing. So as you can see in the crook, or right here in the V of this plant, you have some new growth. So this right here is your new growth. So we don't want to cut this. We want to let that keep growing. So we can cut right here. This is good cilantro that we can go put in our kitchen. And right here is your new little sprout that's going to grow just as much all over again. This is an example of some cilantro that has already started to bolt. It is only spring here in North Carolina, but we've had some warm days, and I must have planted this earlier, or this is some from last year, I think. In fact, this whole patch right here I haven't planted in a couple of years. It just keeps it just keeps coming back. As long as you pull the weeds away when you start to see it come up, you're gonna have a fresh cilantro patch every single year, not having to do a thing. Now, I'm not gonna cut this. It's not gonna go to waste. What it's gonna do is gonna grow about 2 more feet taller. It's gonna flower. It's gonna bring a lot of bees to the garden. Bees are good for your garden, all right? Especially if you're a tomato, you got some tomato plants out there, you want some bees in your garden. So it's gonna bring the bees, it's gonna bring good bugs, ladybugs. Hey, guys, ladybugs are gold for an organic garden, all right? You want ladybugs in your garden because they eat up all the bad bugs. So, we're gonna keep this, we're gonna let it bolt more. Once it turns all flowery, you're actually gonna see more cilantro seeds, which we call coriander, come out of the tops. You're just gonna shake them. Shake those seeds, let them fall right back down, and you can just keep planting patch after patch after patch of cilantro, and that's how you're gonna have cilantro all the time. Uses for cilantro. People either love or hate cilantro. It's actually a genetic predisposition. Some people think it smells like soap. You're probably not watching this video. I love it in salsa. I'll just buy the pre-made produce in the produce section, the salsa there, and chop up my cilantro and mix it in for chips and salsa. I love it I have an Asian chicken salad recipe. I can post it in the comments below, but essentially it's just lettuce, rotisserie chicken, cut up cilantro, cashews, and an Asian dressing of your choice. I make my own with rice vinegar, soy sauce, light tasting olive oil, and sugar. Mix it all together for taste. I don't measure anything. You probably gathered that about me from the way my garden looks. I'm not a very precise person, but I get the job done. There's so many recipes that you can use cilantro in. It also has medicinal uses. Just almost every herb has some kind of medicinal use, so you can look those up there. It's a heart healthy plant or heart healthy herb. It's also antifungal. So, I mean, there's just a variety of things you can do with cilantro. Put your favorite uses in the comments below because I love to learn more. I love to learn more about growing it and how to use it. So I'd love to hear from you. Thanks.